vegetarian restaurant owner provides free lunch boxes for medical professionals. Preschool teachers and children made a music video to thank medical workers. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. Under the pandemic, many stores are forced to close, but medical staff still have to work. Considering that it is difficult to order food outside, city volunteers work together with a vegetarian restaurant to provide lunchboxes for hospitals, police, and fire department units. As the pandemic became severe, deeply impacting restaurants, but this vegetarian restaurant here quietly relaunched during lunchtime, preparing meals for frontline medical workers. Under the collaboration with Tzu Chi, this vegetarian restaurant is giving a hospital 100 free lunch boxes. The restaurant owner's family woke up early to prepare ingredients. Working as a team, the father guides, the mother picks the dishes, and the son takes on the role of a chef.
Because we look at medical stuff and how they work for long periods of time without eating, drinking, or going to the restroom. Due to this, I thought of doing something for them, to bring them food immediately when they are off duty.
Before the pandemic, the restaurant is normally filled with customers. But during the pandemic, the restaurant had to make workers stay at home, which amounts to the loss of 70,000 NT dollars per day.
Our restaurant is fully booked from Monday to Friday, and sometimes at least the first floor is fully occupied with customers.
After stir-frying, beautiful dishes are presented. Vegetarian lion's head, stir-fried mushrooms, and mapo tofu. These dishes are perfect with rice and are widely popular amongst customers. This restaurant located in Tianmu has a free lunchbox including 5 dishes. Within the 5, 3 dishes are signature dishes. The owner's wife said that though they're heavily impacted by the pandemic, this is nothing compared to the exhaustion that frontline medical staff are facing.
Because I felt that medical workers working at the front line are the most exhausted ones. We couldn't help them directly, so from here, we try to contribute our efforts.
Mr. Lian talks very little during interviews, yet becomes talkative whenever he talks about his own creative vegetarian dishes. At the age of 37, he opened a restaurant on Dexing East Road and opened another restaurant in Tianmu due to the increasing popularity. For 15 years, Mr. Lian made meat dishes, but one day he decided to walk on the path of vegetarianism.
Honestly, I was very hesitant at the time, but I had a strong will to do so.
Making vegetarian cuisine from scratch, the customers that Lian Yongfu had before mostly disappeared, yet based on ideal of respecting life, he never turned back.
Our wish is like this. We hope that people who eat meat can come here and eat vegetarian cuisine.
Though the restaurant isn't in operation, the owner and his wife decided to join a food delivery platform, selling lunchboxes. Under the pandemic, though the restaurant worked under a different business model, restaurant owners never forgot to contribute back to society. The pandemic prevention taxi fleet at Taoyuan Airport is another pandemic prevention hero. One of the drivers said that since the epidemic outbreak, people began to label them virus. What is helpless is that they're clearly in the pandemic prevention chain, but now they're being stigmatized.
I'm used to opening windows at the back to let air go out from the back. Every driver has a different practice. I'm going to get in the car, yes. I will come here and get the vehicle dispatch order from the Health Bureau. We will attend whenever there's a need.
Tzu Chi has not met his child since April. Before the launch of the epidemic prevention fleet, he made a special trip to take his child to Jiufen. He would never forget the child's innocent and cute appearance on that day.
This is a photo of me and my child in Jiufen. This was taken on April 18th.
How can he do even though he misses the child? When his pressure is high, the child becomes his only comfort.
On April 19th, I went to get the vaccine. The next day, my side effects were relatively serious, and I felt very weak, as if my soul was out of my body.
After vaccinated, he has almost all the side effects. It is lying to say that he was not afraid. However, the most sad thing was that the outside world labeled them.
When I went to buy a meal, the store happened to be worshipping, and after I parked my car, a man saw that my car was attached to Taoyuan Airport and a local of the epidemic prevention fleet. He then asked me not to park here because everyone will be scared.
Isn't Taiwan's most proud of its human touch? Facing the misunderstanding, he could only swallow it silently.
When encountering this kind of situation, it is impossible for me to explain much to them. It's impossible. And even if I'm willing to explain, people may not listen to me.
Although society calls them heroes for pandemic prevention, he said he dare not to be heroes because what is more behind these two words is loneliness.
Everyone portrays our image as a hero for pandemic prevention, but on the outside, there's a feeling of being excluded. To be honest, we're on the front line, but we are afraid too. The pressure is really great.
Passengers are either travelers under home quarantine or suspected cases with COVID. Avoiding causing trouble to his family, Tzu Chi simply broke off contact with his family. He said that he was not the only one who did this. Behind many epidemic prevention taxi fleet drivers, there is always a family who does not understand them.
My parents are in Hualien. They ask me why I'm doing such a dangerous job.
The government always guarantees that there are abundant resources for pandemic prevention. However, even the chemicals used to disinfect taxis are prepared by fleet itself. Tzu Chi said that the current income is only 10% of what it was before the epidemic. At Taoyuan Airport, the schedule requires all new cars within 5 years. Almost every driver needs a loan. The pressure can be imagined.
In the past, the scheduled shuttle bus has been stipulated to be a vehicle within 5 years. Most drivers have car loans, so they have certain life pressures.
These epidemic prevention taxi fleet drivers have sacrificed family time to stand on the front line, and no matter how hard they are, they must be the most loyal support of the pandemic prevention train.
As the world is impacted by the pandemic, in Taiwan, frontline medical staff continue to protect its people. Preschool teachers and caregivers formed a team and made a music video to thank medical workers.
还记得你说过，无助的时候回头望，有颗心守我，下个路口呀手拉手，我们把爱哼成歌。
In order to pay respects to frontline medical workers, a group of preschool teachers decided to form a team, making a music video.
原因是来自于一个小朋友。
The main reason for this production is because a child said to one of our sisters that he misses his mother and that his mother is in isolation due to being a medical worker.
This song, besides expressing thanks of frontline medical workers, I feel that the most important aspect is to gather our powers together.
The music video was made possible by 8 preschools, 30 medical staff members, and 14 brothers and sisters performing on screen. The video was also made before the Level 3 alert was set in place.
Thanks to medical staff members and children for helping us in this heartwarming music video.
In the music video, there are also medical staff members. To see them practicing in their spare time, it's very impressive.
This song can bring a lot of courage and love for everyone.
还记得你说过，害怕的时候抬头。
The 5-minute music video took around half a month to complete, as it is already widely popular on the internet. This group of preschool teachers utilized the power of music, bring warmth to frontline medical staff members.
回头望，有颗心守护我。
医生护士辛苦了，医生护士辛苦了，医生护士辛苦了，医生护士。
Under the impact of the pandemic, in 2020, the global labor market remained unstable. In Malaysia, the unemployment rate greatly increased. In our report, we'll introduce you to a physically challenged person who makes handicrafts for a living. Let's see how the pandemic has impacted him. Using a string of aluminum wire, anything can be made.
一條線過嘅呢啲。
If you turn the wrong way, you wouldn't know which direction to turn. You want to go back, but you can't reverse the change.
又唔得。
56-year-old Embu He suffered from polio 3 months after birth. Now, based on interest, he decided to learn aluminum wire handicrafts.
整名呢個係書籤啦。
This is a bookmark.
鎖匙扣嚟嘅。
This is a key ring. There can also be Mandarin letters.
中文都得。
28 years of practice has led to Embu He customizing his works on behalf of his customers.
應該有百幾次。
I have failed hundreds of times.
先至做出嚟唔靚嘅。
Because before I made imperfect products, the length is hard to manage.
你做到頭話靚啊，跟住做。
The body is either too long or too short.
長咗啦，唔係就矮咗啦。
The final product is either too small or too ugly. I had to practice a lot.
咗唔靚啊，自己慢慢研究咯。
From interest to a way of making a living, in the past, Embu He was once a small store owner.
睇嗰啲客仔中意咩色。
I look at what colors my customer likes. Normally they like pink. Yes, it requires a lot of looking.
因為我做夜晚做。
If I do this at night, the light quickly reflects back to my eyes, so I quickly have presbyopia.
老花好緊要。
The pandemic and the movement control order has heavily impacted Embu He's family.
我都諗緊唔知係。
I thought of going to other industries, but due to the pandemic now, tourism isn't an option.
做遊客就一排唔得㗎啦，睇做下啲。
So right now, I don't have a clear direction.
仲未有方向。
As of now, the family of 3 lives with aid money given by the government. Under the pandemic, Malaysia's unemployment rate greatly increased. In 2020, 770,000 people lost their jobs.
客仔啊，有啲住響新加坡啊。
Some of my customers live in Singapore. They told me to put my works on the internet, and they shared for me, looking for potential buyers.
叫佢哋幫手幫我招下咯，睇有冇咯。
Embu He tries to sell his work through different platforms as he's the breadwinner of his family.
If you are willing to work, you won't die of starvation. If you can't move your legs, you have your hands. And if you don't have hands, look at others. Some can work even without hands or feet.
有啲冇手冇腳都係可以做噶。
Facing the pandemic with patience and will to learn, physically challenged people can survive and make a living. In mainland China, Tzu Chi has started to help impoverished but worthy students pursue an education since China was struck by a flood in 1991. Tzu Chi volunteers provided disaster relief. They saw the needs of the students. Since then, they have helped build schools and provided scholarships. In our feature story today, we'll meet 2 young men who have benefited from Tzu Chi scholarship programs.
学之路也能够走得更加稳健。大爱新闻真善美职工汤福武、刘丽江苏报道。
慈济在宜春助学，延续大爱。大爱新闻真善美职工曹玉莹、汤福武、汤丽江西报道。
In reports about mainland China produced by DaAi TV, documenting volunteer Tang Fuwu's name often appears. He works behind a video camera and has taken on a different role. Story begins in his hometown, the quiet mountain city Tzu Chi in Jiangxi. The firecracker factory is where Tang Fuwu's parents worked. They made 2,000 renminbi a month. Thanks to the job, they did not have to travel far to work. However, the serious explosion in 2005 killed Tang Fuwu's parents. In addition, Tang Fuwu suffered burns to 98% of his body.
I took this picture not long after I was hospitalized. Basically, there's no intact skin on my body.
Then he was only 12 years old. Recalling the experience, he still has lingering fear.
Grandmother has carried me. I put force on my elbows. I remember back then, the skin on my two elbows cracked open, and blood came rushing out. Back then, my grandmother simply cried.
From suffering severe burns to recovering, Tang Fuwu has received help from them. From 2009 to 2016, when Tang studied in senior high school till he graduated from college, Tzu Chi scholarship have helped him pursue his studies.
While your appearance is like this, your heart is beautiful. I hope your heart is clean, optimistic, and beautiful. You can accept everything in this world. This way, your life will be sunny. When he attended college, we volunteers went to Nanchang to look at him without telling him. We watched him for an entire morning, right? He did not know this. We secretly told local volunteer Sister Mei Hua to invite him to join study groups, so he would not leave Tzu Chi. We watched over him secretly. Volunteers watched him secretly because they did not want too many people know that he is a scholarship recipient. They simply wanted to protect him. They simply watched over him.
Then, I received Tzu Chi scholarships. In fact, every time Shanghai Tzu Chi uncles and aunties left, my feelings could be described by the song We Have a Promise. During the process of growing up, I truly felt the love of Tzu Chi volunteers.
Tang Fuwu has carried out his promise. After graduating from the Graduate School of University of Shanghai for Science and Technology, he started to work at Dell Technology as a software engineer. However, he still wants to do more. He followed city volunteers to conduct home visits and do recycling. He likes to record what he sees with his own eyes.
Chris told me that although the fire caused severe burns to my body, it could not burn my heart. Protect your heart and mind. Embrace the dream for a better future and realize your dreams. Then you will be able to do a better job. Although I've been through many difficulties, many people still love me. I feel that I'm very fortunate.
In the large mountain, one seems to hear the song of a child. He's Wan Lianghong, a cowherd boy in Feijiantan Township of Jiangxi.
We usually let the cows pasteurize here freely. We do not guide them further because there is no one here in the large area. By 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I will go up there to look for them.
In 1997, Tzu Chi has helped build Baizhu Tzu Chi Elementary School in Jiangxi. In 2000, Wan Lianghong has come across Tzu Chi volunteers. He no longer worries about paying his tuitions.
From elementary school to junior high school, I've received help from you. I'm also touched that I do not know what to say. You might not know this. There are 5 members of my family, and my family has been poor, especially when I was in elementary school, due to financial difficulties. My parents decided I was going to attend school a year later, but after you provided scholarships, my family was delighted, as I could go to school. You might not know this. My 2 elder brothers have received your scholarships for 5 years. We are very grateful to you. My wish is to be like my brothers and get into a famous university.
Little boy has realized his wish. He has graduated from the Department of Resource Exploration from University of Chang'an. He has also become a geological engineer.
As my family is impoverished, more or less, I felt inferior to other people. However, Tzu Chi has brought us spiritual comfort or spiritual influence, which is more optimistic. It helps lessen our inferiority. It is like my second home.
After being lifted from poverty, Wan Lianghong still misses his hometown in the mountains. Although he has gotten married and has children, he's still that innocent child in the mountains.
The master often tells us how big your vow is will mean how big your strength is. If we work hard to help these impoverished children pursue an education, then one day they can be like me. They can give back to society when they have the abilities. This means one seed has become tens or hundreds or thousands of trees.
In the United States, Walnut Grilla Preschool has had an event for children. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.